At this time, I would like to welcome the President and CEO of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, Richard Bettis. Richard, over to you.
Thanks, Amanda. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 2020 Cyber Splash. On behalf of our 1,850 different businesses, we'd like to welcome you to this wonderful event that we're kicking off. This is our second year in a row, and we're very, very excited to keep the tradition going. You know, last year we hosted more than 120 people for our inaugural Cyber Splash Mixer. Our attendees, of course, were thrilled to receive information about cyber and IT opportunities at the state and federal levels, and we are excited again to bring everyone together today to learn it one more time. As you know, we are living in very uncertain times. In the midst of a global pandemic, we are inspired by many of you and your organizations who continue to find new ways to conduct business, create jobs, and to contribute to our nation's economy. As you know, the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce is the home of Cybersecurity San Antonio, as you just heard from Amanda, the lead convener and brand manager of the region's cyber ecosystem. We encourage you to stay connected with us through this program. As the second largest cyber hub in the nation, San Antonio is full of entrepreneurs, business owners, and community partners just like you who are committed to innovation. We are here, of course, to be your resource and to help convene, connect, and make this powerful community be successful. Being able to understand the cyber IT procurement and acquisition landscape at the state and federal level is critical to sustaining and growing businesses. To that end, we have an outstanding lineup of speakers joining us from Washington, D.C. and Austin, Texas, and we can't wait to hear from them. Thank you, Anissa, Larry, and Amanda for joining us today. I also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Booz Allen Hamilton. You know, when we talked about wanting to have Cyber Splash again, albeit in a virtual format like today, Booz Allen raised their hand and said, hey, we're in. We believe in this initiative. We're in this industry. We need to promote it. We need to lift it, and we want to be your partner. So, Booz Allen, thank you for joining us today. Your sponsorship is extremely important and very, very much appreciated as our presenting sponsor. I also want to take a moment to thank our gold sponsor, Port San Antonio. For those of you that have not been out to Port San Antonio, you need to get out there. Jim Pershbach, their leader, Will Garrett, and the entire Port San Antonio team are doing something really special out there. So please go by there and check it out. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of growth going on there. And finally, I want to thank our webinar sponsor, Tips Streets, for supporting our 2020 Cyber Splash. I myself have gotten my box of Tips Streets. So if you hear me in a minute when I'm talking and my mouth gets full, it's because I'm chomping on a cookie. But we want to thank Tips Streets for being our event sponsor today. And last but not least, I want to thank, of course, our leader, Rich Valdez. He's the Chief Technology Officer over at IP Secure. He's our 2020 Cyber Council Chair. Rich, you've done a great job. We want to thank you for your efforts in keeping the industry top of mind for folks. All right, without further ado, let's begin. I am honored today to introduce Mark Rydell, Principal at Booz Allen Hamilton and one of our newest board members. Mark joined Booz Allen Hamilton in 2005 as an associate after retiring from the United States Air Force. He is aligned to the aerospace account in the Global Defense Group and is the Air Force Cyber Weapons System Market Lead and Booz Allen Non-Kinetic Cross-Cut Lead. Mark is also the San Antonio Site Lead, responsible for the 600-person office and their strategy, their branding, their government relations, community engagement, facility, and support efforts. Mark, thank you, and Booz Allen Hamilton, of course, for your sponsorship today. You're a friend, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say welcome. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Happy to be a partner and happy to work in all these things together with the Chamber, with the city, and with all the industry partners. Working with the Chamber, a lot of times, you know, Booz Allen Hamilton, people are like, what is that? Is that a law firm? Is that an accounting firm? You know, that's kind of a common question. So super quick, Booz Allen is actually a consulting and technology firm. We were formed over 100 years ago in 1914 by a guy named Edwin Booz out of Chicago, Illinois. Edwin applied his bachelor's and his master's degrees from Northwestern and founded a small company to offer what he called efficiency expertise, what we now call, you know, management consulting across the industry. And some of those early clients at Booz Allen Hamilton, like General Mills, Canadian Pacific Railroad, and Goodyear. Edwin was also a veteran, right? He was drafted in the Army in 1917 as a as a private, and he came out 2 years later as a major. So I think that's probably because not too many privates in 1917 had master's degrees from Northwestern. But this was, kind of the beginning of his veteran days. But as a company, as Booz Allen Hamilton, we didn't do a work for the Department of Defense. That didn't start to happen until 1940, when the Secretary of the Navy hired Edwin Booz and his partner Jim Hamilton to streamline naval operations while doubling the size of the Navy in 1940. 1941, the Army hired Booz Allen to do similar things, restructuring the Army, and that began a long partnership with the Department of Defense that remains strong today, where DOD is the single biggest client of Booz Allen Hamilton. We're headquartered in McLean, Virginia. We have over about 27,000 employees. And while we do have a commercial and an international business, our largest business accounts are those centered around the federal government, providing expertise and solutions around 4 main areas: cyber, digital solutions, analytics, and management consulting services. More locally, here in San Antonio, our office, as Richard mentioned, has about 600 employees, where we support a host of the government clients, but our single biggest team that we have here in San Antonio is the one that supports 16th Air Force and Air Force Cyber. So finally, in terms of like a special announcement, I wanted to add that in the next several days, we're going to be sharing with local media outlets here in San Antonio and any interested parties a critical piece of research that we have done that we want to share that examines more than 200 Russia-linked instances involving espionage, disruption, disinformation, and such between 2004 and 2019. The research uncovers things, critical insights, right? Kind of a look behind the scenes as the things you've seen in the news, critical insights into Russia-linked cyber activity, predictions for what's next, guidance on how to use this data to anticipate and plan for future risks, and really to shift to more of a threat-centric risk management model. It seems like with the days and all the events that are happening now, but it wasn't that long ago, Texas was no stranger to Russia-linked cyber attacks. We were one of the 21 states whose election systems were targeted by Russian hackers back in 2016. We would expect that again. And just the last 2 weeks, 2 hacking groups with ties to Russian intel agencies were accused of trying to steal information around COVID-19. So defending against cyber operations like this demands an understanding of not just how, but also some of the why, so we can get ahead of it, and that's what that report does. So we'll be looking and reaching out to local media outlets, and so if you're interested, there'll be more information about that later if you want to get a piece into some of that research that we're wanting to share. So finally, the real reason I'm here is it's my pleasure to announce and to introduce Lawrence Hale and Anissa Birdley from GSA. Larry Hale is the director of the IT security subcategory within the Office of IT inside of GSA's Federal Acquisition Service. Mr. Hale is responsible for addressing the challenges of infusing cybersecurity contract acquisitions, developing programs to handle highly adaptive cybersecurity services, and also addressing supply chain risk management. He spent more than 2 years as Chief Information Security Officer or CISO of a Fortune 500 IT company. Previously, Larry was the director of what was known as the Fed Search, and led the transition of that organization from GSA into DIR. Served as the deputy director of what was then known as US CERT, or the National Cyber Security Division's Computer Emergency Response Team. It was also back then that I was running the AFCERT here in town when I was in uniform. Seems like a long time ago now, Larry, but I remember those days. Larry's retired from the U.S. Navy, has a master's degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from Naval War College, and a master's in Aeronautical Science, Go Air Force, from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. We also welcome Anissa Birdley. Anissa is a contracting officer with the Office of Information Technology inside GSA. She has over 20 years experience in the federal government contracting. Prior to her current position, she was with the Federal Systems Integration Management Center, as we sometimes know it in the business as FedSim, and served as a contracting officer supporting DoD organizations there. Prior to joining GSA, Anissa worked for the DoD Fourth Estate agencies, which included places like the Washington Headquarters Service, the Department of Defense Education Activity, and TRICARE Management Activity. So with that, I welcome Larry and Anissa, and I turn it over to you, Larry, and look forward to hearing what you have to share.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the very kind introduction. I also want to express my thanks to the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, to Amanda and Cybersecurity San Antonio, and of course to your sponsors. Thank you very much for having us today. It's a pleasure to address you from the DC area. I would much rather be with you in San Antonio. I've had absolutely wonderful times every time I visit San Antonio. But with that, let's roll straight into my discussion. As the director of the IT security subcategory, I manage our cybersecurity portfolio on our GSA contracts. And I want to talk to you today about two major cybersecurity solutions that we manage on GSA's multiple award schedule. Those are the highly adaptive cybersecurity services, or HACS, SIN, and a little bit later on, I'll be talking also about the continuous diagnostics and mitigation tools, SIN. SIN stands for special item number. So it is a way to find specific kind of product or service, a specific solution on the GSA schedule from the thousands upon thousands of different solutions on the schedule. So a SIN is a tool to make it easier to find that. Now, why do we have a HACS SIN? Back in 2016, GSA collaborated with Department of Homeland Security and the Office of Management and Budget to create the HACS SIN. And there are a number of drivers which I'll get to, but the main real reason for establishing the HACS SIN was in the wake of or in the aftermath of the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, breach, in which a very large number of federal employees and retirees' personal identifiable information was compromised. The Office of Management and Budget at the White House initiated an effort to do a better job of addressing and securing high-value assets across the government. So identifying those high-value assets in all the agencies, and then really upping the game on the techniques and methods used to secure those high-value assets, so that the proper attention was paid to them. In doing this, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, developed a high-value asset assessment team. And the original idea was that this high-value asset assessment team would visit all the cabinet-level agencies and assess their high-value asset security. When they took inventory of the high-value assets, they quickly recognized that they needed additional capacity. They needed industry. They needed the expertise and capability that industry brings to bear. So the concept of the HACS SIN was developed, and in doing so, we and I'll get to it on a future slide, but we also had to take steps to ensure that the industry partners that are on the HACS SIN understand and follow the approved DHS and White House methodology, OMB methodology, for conducting high-value asset assessments. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But there are a number of drivers, including OMB Memo 19-03, which is entitled Strengthening the Cybersecurity of Federal Agencies by Enhancing the High-Value Asset Program. Additional OMB memos, including 17-12, Preparing for and Responding to a Breach of Personally Identifiable Information, or PII. So you can see the threads of the OPM breach there, with PII compromises and the protection of high-value assets. HACS SIN is also mentioned in the federal government's CISO handbook, which is published on cio.gov, and also called out in the final report to the President on federal IT modernization. So well-supported, well-referenced SIN that enables rapid acquisition of proactive and reactive cybersecurity services to assist in the identification and protection of agency resources. It also allows agencies to detect and respond to cybersecurity events and recover from impairments resulting from cyber incidents. Now, we last year, in collaboration with OMB and DHS, we consolidated what were 4 previous hack SINs into a single SIN. So we did away with the 4 separate SINs and modernized the hack SIN into a single SIN that includes those subcategories that you see on the bottom of this slide: high-value asset assessments, risk and vulnerability assessment, cyber hunt, incident response, and penetration testing. And those services, HVA assessments, encompass a lot of things, high-value asset assessments. It incorporates risk and vulnerability assessments, systems architecture review, system security engineering, security operations center services, and risk management framework services following the NIST risk management framework. And those include information security continuous monitoring assessments and federal incident response evaluations. And you can see the additional capabilities there with cyber hunt, incident response, and penetration testing. Next slide, please. So for federal agencies looking to purchase or use the hack SIN, it's what we call a Tier 2 spend under management contract, meaning the federal government right now under category management is trying to discourage one-off contracts where agencies create a contract from scratch, develop it, go out and solicit it and award it, and it's a one-off unique contract for that agency. Where the services and products that are used by multiple agencies, they're not unique. They're not unique to one specific agency. The idea is use a well-managed contract like a GSA contract and issue your solicitation against that pre-existing, pre-awarded contract. So there are Tier 1 is what I just described as a unique individual contract. Tier 2 is what we call a well-managed spend under management contract. And Tier 3 is best in class. And we are working on achieving best in class for hacks. And I'll get to a little bit about the increased utilization at the bottom of this slide, which is supporting that best in class designation. But right now, Tier 2, well-managed, and it does give agencies credit for their category management. So I mentioned that we had to ensure that the vendors understand the DHS and OMB methodologies for high-value asset assessments. So unlike a lot of GSA multiple award schedule contracts where any company who has a legitimate commercial product or service can apply to and achieve a government contract, a GSA contract. To get onto this specific hack SIN, vendors have to pass an oral technical evaluation with my team. We evaluate them on high-value asset assessments and any of the other subcategories that the vendor wants to get listed on those subcategories. It is not a rubber stamp. We are doing evaluations every week. At the beginning of this week, we did have a vendor fail their evaluation. It's not a gimme. It's not a rubber stamp, and it does all the instructions about what you'll be asked about in the evaluation are in fact listed in the solicitation. So there's no secrets, but we want to assess your ability to implement the OMB and DHS high value asset assessment methodology. So we've got over 280 vendors on the contract. Sales are skyrocketing. Since inception of the HAC-SIN, we've had over 144 million in reported sales. More than half of that has gone to small businesses. And to just give you an idea, I mean, the last bullet says 3,500% sales increase. What we're saying there is that in the year we launched HACS, we had 4 million in sales. In the second year, it was 18 million. The third year, it was 51 million. And so far this year, we've already had 71 million this year alone. So the uptake on HACS utilization, the uptake on the SIN is incredible. And federal agencies are recognizing that this is a really good way to get the services that they need. Next slide, please. So we have a number of tools to help federal agency customers to get access to understand how to use the HAC-SIN. We have videos on YouTube. I'm jumping down to like the last bullet of my first section, but our YouTube videos are the newest, our newest addition to the set of tools. So it's the one that we're kind of the most excited about. But we have solicitation templates, RFQ and statement of work templates, frequently asked questions. We provide ordering guides, and the vendor guide is what I was referring to help you understand how to get, if you're interested in becoming a HAC-SIN vendor. We have vendor guides to allow you to walk you through the process of becoming a HAC-SIN vendor, getting on the SIN. We have an independent government cost estimate tool, because cybersecurity labor categories are more specific, and they're more specific to the HAC-SIN. So rather than using general IT labor categories that some of the other tools that GSA offers depend on, we have used the awards on the HAC-SIN and used the labor categories in those awards and developed an independent government cost estimate tool based on those labor categories and the rates. We have the videos that I talked about. The two videos are the HACS overview, which talks in general about the HAC-SIN, and the HACS use cases. And that one's really useful because agencies can use the HAC-SIN for a number, as you saw earlier, a number of different kinds of services. And they can also do blanket purchase agreements where they can combine multiple vendors on a single blanket purchase agreement, and perhaps use one vendor for Security Operations Center, use another vendor for incident response. Well, SOC and incident response would probably go together well, but they may use a second vendor for their scanning, for their independent verification and validation, so that they're not completely committed to just one service provider for different kinds of services. So those use cases are very helpful. We're proud of those in helping agencies to understand the scope of the HAC-SIN and how they can use it. And then we will review statements of work and solicitations on behalf of agencies who send them in to us. So we offer free scope reviews. The website listed below is where you'll find all the information and links to the materials that I talked about above. And there's also an email address for my office where we will answer, IT Security CM for category management, itsecuritycm@gsa.gov, to answer any questions about the HAC-SIN. Next slide, please. So in addition to the HAC-SIN, which is focused on services, highly adaptive cybersecurity services, we have partnered with Department of Homeland Security to manage and to design and manage the Continuous Diagnostics and Mitigation, or CDM, tools SIN. Again, SIN stands for Special Item Number. So this SIN was established in August 2017, and it replaced a previously existing blanket purchase agreement for continuous diagnostics and mitigation continuous monitoring as a service. This SIN is a complement to the DHS-funded CDM Defend task orders that DHS launched and sponsors to implement the CDM program across the executive branch agencies. So DHS has executed a number of multi-year task orders with some very large integrators to provide CDM services and implement the CDM program. What is exciting to me about the CDM Tools SIN is that the CDM Tools SIN is open for state and local governments. It's open for through the Cooperative Purchasing Program. It's open for state, local, tribal, any governmental entity that is eligible for cooperative purchasing with GSA can use the CDM Tools SIN and get the same tools, the same cybersecurity tools that the federal agencies are using in the CDM program. Additionally, it's open to DoD. So DHS, Department of Homeland Security, does not manage cybersecurity for DoD. It's responsible for the executive branch civilian agencies' cybersecurity. But we've found a lot of DoD agencies very interested in using the CDM Tools SIN to get the right kind of tools and you know, in the easiest way. So CDM stands for Continuous Diagnostics and Mitigation. And so when DHS initially launched it, that chart that you see, or that splash diagram, cyber splash there, with the concentric circles, originally they called those phases. But after a while, they realized that if it's continuous, then you don't necessarily have the phases. You need to be doing all of these things at the same time. Your data protection management, your network security management, identity and access management, asset management, et cetera, the dashboard, all those things need to be happening all the time. Understanding who's on the network, understanding what's on the network, what's happening on the network, and what's happening to the data on the network. Those capabilities are all available through the tools that are available on the CDM Tools SIN. To get on the SIN, again, it's a partnership with DHS. The tools must first be approved on the DHS CDM Tools Approved Products List. I got to make sure I'm not getting ahead of my next slide. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So DHS manages the Approved Products List. As you can see down below, there are a number of categories in the Approved Products List. And DHS, to jump to the last bullet, DHS updates the Approved Products List monthly. There are over 300,000 line items on the Approved Products List. But before a vendor can add products to the CDM Tools SIN, the vendor must submit the products for review on the CDM Approved Products List, known as the APL. That's managed by DHS CISA, and it's the authoritative approved product catalog for products that meet the DHS CDM requirements. The categories are outlined in the image on this slide, and then CISA, DHS CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, provides GSA with an updated APL monthly, which we post on our CDM Tools website. Next slide, please. So the CDM Tools SIN, as I said, is available to federal agencies, DoD and civilian, state, local, tribal, and territorial government entities using GSA's Cooperative Purchasing Program. It can be purchased through eBuy, and that's eBuy, not eBay. That's GSA eBuy and GSA Advantage. The website for that is on the slide, gsa.gov/CDM. And on that website, you will find the approved products list, buyers and sellers guides. So the seller's guide is, again, a vendor guide on how to get onto the CDM Tools SIN, the product submission instructions and form. And because vendors are required to have a supply chain risk management plan in order to get on this SIN, we provided a sample supply chain risk management plan, or SCRM plan, for vendors to use. There's two addresses here. APL questions can go to DHS, to the CDM ARM at hq.dhs.gov. But if you have questions about the SIN, you can send them to my team, again, at itsecuritycm@gsa.gov. And we are happy to answer your questions and ready to support. Now, before rather than go to Q&A, my colleague, Anissa Burley, is going to take over and talk about GSA's multiple award schedule, and which the CDM Tools SIN and the Hack SIN are two of the solutions available on that SIN. So, Anissa, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Larry. I wanted to also say thanks to the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to speak today. I work right there beside Larry every day, and we support each other, and we, try to make things happen for our customer agencies as well as those that are ordering off our schedule. So today I'm going to do a quick overview of GSA's multiple award schedule, specifically the multiple award schedule, the IT information technology portion of GSA's multiple award schedules. So I'll do a brief overview. I wanted to note that, and it's not included in my slides because I think it's a newly established email account, but I wanted to just share that if there are any questions that, require further discussion or needing to talk to a CO or someone in our Mass PMO office, I can make that happen. You can send any questions to massit@gsa.gov. So just wanted to throw that out there because it's not included in the slides, I'm sorry. So next slide, please. So our schedule is one of the largest IT contracting vehicles in the federal government, with approximately 85% of all contracts being held by small businesses. Using multiple SINs, total solutions can be created in a single acquisition. I know we heard Larry discuss earlier, he spoke about the Hack SIN as well as the CDM SIN. And for example, when you're looking for that total cyber solution, there, are those two SINs that you can put an RFQ out there on the street. If you're looking for hack services, you can utilize that SIN. And if you're looking for CDM SIN, CDM tools, you can utilize that SIN to meet your full solution if that's the need. So when we talk about our schedules, I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with our schedules and know a lot about them and know how to procure off of them. One of the things Larry also mentioned was about GSA Advantage and GSA eBuy. So wealth of information out there if you haven't been to that website that you can use to read up on our different SINs, also our solicitation, and any additional information that you may need. So I can't say it enough. If you have additional questions, please use that Mass IT email account that I just shared with you. Next slide, please. So just, with our schedules, it's a quick access to more than 4,000 pre-vetted and qualified IT contractors. They have demonstrated IT experience and also innovative and emerging IT services and technologies. We have two programs right now within our IT schedules department. One is the Making It Easier Fast Lane program, and also the Streamlined Making It Easier Startup Springboard program. Those two programs are currently being utilized today for those small businesses that may not have financials, may not have the 2-year experience that's necessary in accordance with our solicitations, and also are wanting to get emerging and innovative IT services and products on the schedules. So I do have those links further down in the slides, so I just ask everyone to please go to those links and read up on those 2 programs because it's a wealth of information there as well. Also on our schedules, we have socioeconomic categories to help meet our agency's small business goals. We have certified small disadvantaged businesses, small businesses, service disabled, woman-owned, SB certified 8A, and Hub Zone. All of these business types, socioeconomic categories are available on our schedules, and agencies can also, when submitting an RFQ, they can set their RFQ and those requirements aside for these socioeconomic categories. And that's been a success in the organization as far as, ordering off the schedules and making small business set-asides or any other set-aside. So I just welcome you to also look into that if you're interested. Our schedules is an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract, and it provides for an indefinite quantity of supplies or services with a fixed period of time and a fixed price. We have pre-negotiated ceiling rates, which have been determined fair and reasonable. The contracting officers also ask that, everyone asks for additional discounts because when you're in a competitive environment, that's when you're going to see those prices drop. Also, we have the ability to conduct set-aside procurements, as I just mentioned before, that can limit competition to specific groups. And it also enables agencies to meet their small business goals. So that's something that I know the agencies think about because they have their yearly goals that they must meet. And so they're looking to set aside procurements for different types of categories. Also, it's the ability to notify specific contractors to eBuy postings. Even though an agency may post on eBuy, every vendor can see the posting. So if we go in and we select maybe 5 vendors, every other vendor that has been approved for that send is able to see the RFQs as well. So that's why you see a lot of agencies getting, just a huge volume of quotes coming in. So I just wanted to make that clear that everybody can see the RFQs when they're posted. I think Larry spoke about this as well. We also, under our schedule, there is, you can, make the determination that you want to award a blanket purchase agreement. That purchase agreement can be for, like I said, the hack services or the CDM tools. You can make a multiple award or a single award with some requirements that need to be approved at different levels for a single award, depending on which one you go with. So we do allow for blanket purchase agreements. We do allow for contracting teaming arrangements. And then, as I spoke about it before, our Making It Easier initiatives with Fastlane and Startup Springboard for those companies that don't meet the 2-year corporate experience or have the financial background to be awarded a schedule. Next slide, please. Okay, and here's some web resources that I have here. The first one is our GSA Multiple Award Schedule website, our Mass Information Technology website, and although it does say Schedule 70, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with or have knowledge that we have consolidated our Multiple Award Schedule program. So we're no longer Schedule 70, we're just Multiple Award Schedule, Information Technology Multiple Award Schedule. So that link will be updated in the future. It just hasn't been updated now. Here's also the link to our order level materials. Any information that you need on that is available at that link. Also, the GSA Advantage link, the eBuy link, The e-library link is where you'll find a list of our GSA multiple award schedule contract holders, and also FastLane and Springboard. And also, as I mentioned before, please feel free, if you have questions that are not answered here today, to email them to our massit@gsa.gov email account, and we'll be sure to get our team on it and get you a response back quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add that e-library link. You can also just Google GSA e-library and put in a company's name. And so if you're looking for a company to team with, or if you're looking for a company well, teaming is certainly part of it. Being a sub, using their schedule to partner with them and get your innovative product or service onto without getting your own GSA contract. That's certainly a good way to find. You can go on there and find out if there's a company that you already have a relationship with. You can look on eLibrary and see what kind of contracts they may have. It's got a really useful listing of all the companies with all the GSA contracts. Anissa, I think that concludes our remarks, and we're certainly, we appreciate the opportunity to share, and we're open to addressing any questions that the participants may have.
All right. Well, Anissa and Larry, thank you both. A lot of information, a lot of great information that our listeners and our viewers can take with them and hopefully begin to penetrate, if they're not there already, GSA and some of the other federal agencies. A lot of great opportunity there for building businesses and, of course, providing capability to our nation. So thank you both. We'll hold on the questions for now. We've got another speaker, and then we'll ask all three of you to help us answering the questions towards the end. And so with that, I'll remind everybody, please, ladies and gentlemen, put in any questions that you might have in the question and answer box at the bottom of the screen. Just click that. There's a place you just fill it in, and then we'll be sure to get right to them when we get to the question and answer period. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Will Garrett. Will Garrett is the Vice President of Cybersecurity and Development at Port San Antonio. It almost seems like ancient history, but Will was part of the Chamber family for 12 years, for the entire 12 years. When I got here, Will was here, and was a great friend, just an amazing professional. He continues to be the co-founder and advisor to BillSec Foundry, and of course, he's a Tech Block board member. Will, I miss you. I'm glad you're with us. I'll turn it over to you, and again, thank the Port for their sponsorship today. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, thank you, Richard. And on behalf of Port San Antonio, thank you to the San Antonio Chamber, to Richard, Amanda for putting this together, for, do it on the fly in the midst of what we're dealing with in society right now. But I think building on the super successful event last year that really brought our security ecosystem together. And then thanks to Mark Rydell and Booz, and my customer partner at the Port, for your support that helps make this happen. And so I think most on the line may know, but Port San Antonio is a 1,900-acre campus on the southwest side of San Antonio. We have 80 high-tech firms employing over 14,000 high-tech individuals. And outside of the general support of our cybersecurity ecosystem, I think the alignment to what Larry and Anissa just talked about, which is great content around GSA, their strategies in these areas, how to do business with, how to get on these schedules. It's important to industries here in San Antonio. And then what Amanda's going to talk about from a Department of Information Resources standpoint of the state of Texas. I think it aligns to strategies we have at the Port that are very specifically supportive of and focused on critical infrastructure, security, and resiliency. And just 2 weeks ago, our San Antonio City Council formally approved something called the Alamo Regional Security Operations Center. And will start as an integrated security operations center between the city of San Antonio and CPS Energy, and ultimately tie into the work locally that people like the University of Texas at San Antonio are doing around information sharing on a national stage, and then tie in and hopefully make it more effective and efficient to Amanda's role at the state, governing and looking over the security of a massive set of Texas agencies, citizen information, critical infrastructure. And it's all about how does both San Antonio continue to build upon the leading edge we have around cybersecurity and critical infrastructure resiliency, but how does the state really as a whole become a national model for the U.S. on how we work together to safeguard public information, critical information, especially critical infrastructure. So thank you for the opportunity today. But you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from Amanda. And Amanda, thank you for joining us today from Austin. We greatly appreciate it. For those that don't know, Amanda's Executive Director of the Texas Department of Information Resources. To say she has a large role is a huge understatement. If you look at DIR as an agency, it's got an annual fiscal profile of over $4 billion. She and DIR are in charge of protecting the state's data and critical technology infrastructure, manage multi-billion-dollar cooperative contracts across the state and within the state agencies, and really at the end of the day, provide that strategic technology leadership, pushing through innovation to all levels of the Texas government in a time, especially where a workforce was pushed remote unknowingly and unprepared. I'm sure Amanda's had more than she cares to on her plate, and DIR as they try to safeguard Texas, safeguard our citizens, and ultimately safeguard the critical infrastructure that keeps our economy running. So we're excited to hear from you, Amanda. Thank you for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Will, and hello, everybody. It's great to be with you here today. I had a wonderful time. I had the privilege of coming down last year to be there in person. I'm sorry that we can't all be together to do that now, but hopefully this time next year we'll be back in business. But anyway, thrilled to come and talk, and really thank you to the Chamber for the invitation, and also for the partnership that we have with San Antonio, with the businesses there, with certainly with the University of Texas at San Antonio. We really consider the San Antonio community to be one of our great partners in helping to secure Texas. So thank you for that. And that's really what I want to talk about is partnering to secure Texas, which is what we need to do as a state and frankly as a nation in the world, is to partner together at all levels of government, with the private sector, with higher ed, to be able to combat what's going on all around us all the time with these cyber threats that continue to evolve, that become more challenging. They change the attack vectors, and we have to be on our toes all the time. And in many ways, I feel like, and you all probably know this sentiment too, is that for a long time, it was like we were fighting multiple little battles all over with our own little armies, sometimes armies of one, to combat this. But I think now we're looking at a more holistic view. We certainly are looking at this from the Department of Information Resources, or DIR, as putting forth proposals to protect the state as a whole, the cybersecurity of the state as an entire initiative to protect all levels of government and the private sector as well. So, and also thrilled to be here, obviously, with our federal partners who work hard on this effort as well. If you could move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the DIR, the agency that I have the privilege of leading. Is that, as Will pointed out, we have a big mission, but we are what I call small but mighty. We're actually only at about 200 employees statewide, but we are charged with leading the state's strategy, protecting critical infrastructure, and offering all sorts of innovative and cost-effective solutions for all levels of government. Next slide, please. And one of the things that I want to talk about is our cybersecurity initiatives. We have a lot of services and solutions that we offer. So you'll see on this chart here, we talk a little bit about the Department of Information Resources and what we do. And each of the circles on the screen tells a little bit about the roles that we have and how we are able to serve Texas government. So we have, for example, a very large shared technology services program that offers things from, we have 2 data centers. About 80% of the state's compute actually runs through those data centers. We provide certainly mainframe as a service, print mail services, application development through our shared technology services. We have a technology solutions services group through our vendor partners that help provide exactly that solutioning for government to be able to solve the technology challenges that are in front of them. We're responsible for the statewide data program, including the Texas Open Data Portal. We manage Texas.gov, which is the state's the official online portal for Texas government. And in fact, many of you may have gone to see that. It's been in play a lot recently with all of the COVID-19 resources for the governor and the Department of Health Services running through that portal as well. We do policy planning, communications, and of course, information security. And I'm going to talk later about our cooperative contracts. So if you'll move to the next screen. Thank you. So information security. We have a couple of roles when it comes to this. One, the Chief Information Security Officer for Texas, Nancy Rainasek, offices at DIR. And Nancy and her team are responsible by statute with the providing information security leadership, policy direction, education, outreach, and other statewide initiatives. They are the policy arm of cybersecurity at the statewide level. So the other thing that this team does is we also help out with incident response. And so one thing that you all may be familiar with, a particularly high-profile incident, was last August when there were 23 entities, government entities in Texas who were hit by a ransomware event. And it was that team, through the Office of the Chief Information Security Officer, that partnering with multiple agencies at federal and state level, that responded to lead the response to that event to help those 23 entities across Texas who were impacted. And it was actually, some you all may be familiar as well with in addition to that work that we did there, it got a lot of attention. Obviously, it was a big event, 23 entities that were hit. Happy to say that in a week's time, we were able to get those entities cleared off of the state response and back on the road to rebuilding. So it was a very successful response that came as a result of the policy and planning that this team put together for more than 2 years, and partnering with our federal and state associates to come up with an incident response plan. How will Texas respond when an event like this happens? And it was truly an exercise in collaboration, and was a successful one that actually the United States Senate Homeland Security Committee invited me to come and speak with Director Krebs from CISA and Krista Russia as well, to speak about how we did it. How did Texas do it? So I think as Texans, you all should be proud that the federal government certainly noticed. They noticed that we did a great job, and they want to learn more about that and partner with us so we can continue to take those successes and multiply that across the nation as a whole. So that is definitely kudos for Texas on that, and something that we're very proud of as well. Cybersecurity coordination. We have the Texas Cybersecurity Council, which is a public-private partnership with members from the private sector, the public sector at all levels, and higher ed as well, that is charged by statute with looking at how do we protect, again, that security of the state, the entire state, and look at security as a whole. And they come up with initiatives and legislative recommendations to put forth to try to help bolster our security posture here in Texas. And we have then the Network Security Operations Center through DIR, which provides the monitoring, blocking, and analysis for our state agency customers. We serve as the DIR serves as the internet service provider for many state agencies, and we run our NSOC for those agencies and block literally billions of threats a day. Next slide, please. So a few of the security offerings that we have that are available to either local, state government, or higher education, or all three, that are run through the DIR office. So we have, for example, Policy and Security Controls Catalog, our Information Security, our InfoSec Academy, that is available to state government employees and higher ed. We have End User Security Awareness Training. Our Information Security Forum, which is a 2-day conference, is available to all levels of government. Vulnerability scans and penetration tests, security assessments, course, we have, as I mentioned earlier, the statewide data center and shared technology services that provide security and are available to all levels of government. Our managed security services. So one of the services we offer as a shared technology service is our MSS, or Managed Security Services contract, that's provided by our vendor partner AT&T. And that allows local governments to, or government at any level, to be able to purchase security services through this contract and go under the DIR contract to easily procure by just as simply as executing a interlocal contract if you're a local government, and then putting in a request for services. And for example, an incident response, we can have somebody through Managed Security Services be at your door within hours to help you respond to that event. And then, of course, as I talked about, our Network Security Operations Center, or our NSOC. Next slide. Another thing I want to talk about is an important initiative that we're working on and that we've actually partnered with San Antonio on as well, is our Texas ISAO, which is a legislative initiative to create the Texas Information Sharing and Analysis Organization. Next. So the vision of the Texas ISAO is to provide that forum and mechanism for state agencies and private entities in Texas to share that timely information that that is actionable, and that regarding our threats, our best practices, remediation strategies, and really looking again at that cybersecurity resilience for the state as a whole. As we all know that, we don't know what we don't know, and we know that the criticality of getting information that is timely and accurate on these cyber events. And there really isn't a mechanism in order to be able to do that and share that quickly and easily here in Texas. And so the idea behind the ISAO is to be able to get this information out and to bring us together, again, partnering to secure our state. Next, please. So some of the goals are to address those common weaknesses and the best practice deficiencies that we see through our work with local governments. And this is really going to help, again, through information sharing and analysis, policies, plannings, education, and support. We do a lot of outreach and education efforts, and looking at other infrastructure and IT improvements, looking potentially at building out monitoring at endpoints and enhanced response capabilities. And one of the key things I want to mention about the ISAO is the services that come through this are available, next slide please, at no cost to all the organizations. So the idea is, again, to create this security of the state, all public, private, nonprofit entities joining together to share information and to build the security with no cost. There may be, for public entities, there are additional services that are available at no cost. Data feeds are available to all members, but some of the partners may have optional offerings that may incur a fee. So this is just starting off. I really want to thank the University of Texas at San Antonio, President Amy, General Walsh, Dr. Greg White, everybody for partnering us with the ISAO. We're also partnering with UT Austin, Angelo State University as well, and then many of the fine folks in the San Antonio area to help build out this ISAO. Next slide. If you're interested in learning more, please visit isao.texas.gov to learn more about what we offer and to consider becoming a member. You can also do threat reporting there. Okay. So I want to talk, though, about how to partner with DIR. So for those of y'all that are in the private sector and are interested in doing business with the state, the idea is, again, which I loved listening to our friends from the federal government talking about the ways that making it easier or demystifying the procurement process. I love that because that's something that we work on all the time too. Texas is stronger when we have more competition and more folks that are out there to be able to provide services to entities, government entities quickly. So we love and want as many folks as possible to be able to qualify through our programs and be on our list. So if we could flip to the next slide. All right, our cooperative contracts program is by statute, DIR is charged with running a cooperative contract program to provide IT goods and services to government all levels. So just to give you a sense of the size of the program, last year there were more than $2.1 billion in sales that ran through the Cooperative Contracts program. Now that amounted to a $216 million cost avoidance for state government. But one little caveat on that $216 million cost avoidance or cost savings for Texas, that's only on the goods that were sold. It's actually more difficult to track the savings on the services. So the cost avoidance for Texas running through this program is actually a lot larger. I also want to, so anyway, going through these products, so you see we have hardware, software, technology training, services, IT staffing, DBITs or deliverable-based IT services. We run a bulk purchase program. So through the bulk purchase program, if they have multiple state agencies expressing a need for particular IT goods or services, DIR is empowered to negotiate a bulk purchase for those goods and services that then everybody in the state can purchase off of. So for example, during that ransomware event back in August, knowing that we were going to have entities that were going to need to have critical things like such as server and network equipment in order to be able to rebuild, we were able to negotiate deep discounts with many of our vendor partners on providing that hardware and equipment. And we also do statements of work and exemption reviews for the SOWs and statement of work for state agencies seeking to purchase goods and services. Now, one thing to note is that the use of cooperative contracts is mandated for state agencies. So they must use our cooperative program unless they have an exemption. But if you'll go to the next slide, you can see who are some of our other eligible customers who can use our program. Can we move to the next one, please? Thank you. So DIR's customers, as we've talked about, state agencies, higher ed, K-12, cities, counties, municipal water districts. The list goes on and on about who is eligible to purchase off of DIR's programs. I also want to point out other states. So that is actually our largest growing market sector is from other states. While it's the smallest percentage overall, it's the largest, and that in fact the usage is more than doubled in the last year. So the opportunities are there. The reputation of DIR's Cooperative Contracts program has spreading not just statewide but through the nation. And again, the idea behind these are pre-negotiated contracts with the state-approved and state-required terms and conditions. We negotiate typically for essentially unit value of one. We have a master service agreement, all the required terms and conditions. Then any of these entities who then want to purchase off of the contract can then negotiate further discounts with the vendor should they want tailor the specifications more narrowly and work within the scope of those contract terms to get even greater discounts. So that's really for a lot of local governments and actually for governments across Texas, it's kind of the easy button because as we know, not only is it difficult to recruit and retain qualified IT professionals in state government, it's difficult to recruit and retain contracting and procurement staff. And so anything that we can do to try to make this easier on folks to be able to have these secure contracts with all the requirements under Texas law that enables them to get access to these goods and services that that's our mission and that's what we're going to do. Next slide. So as I said, we competitively bid all these contracts, part of the first step of the process. We established the statewide master contracts with vendors when the sufficient customer demand exists. So we do not have a continual open procurement process. We have a procurement plan, which we announce, and I'll talk about that a little bit where you can find that out. So you know exactly what it is, what's on deck, what is it we're looking for now, what do we plan to do in the future. but based on staffing needs, we just can't have continually open procurements. We do post our RFOs on the Electronic State Business Daily, and they're usually posted for 30 days. And most of the contracts typically include multiple awards, and then they're awarded for a specified term under that contract, regardless of how many awards are under. Next slide. This list also provides hub resources, and not just hub resources, but resources where you can get information, for example, on a link to the ESBD, the centralized master bidders list for the comptroller, and other information for anyone who's interested in doing business with the state. Talking a little bit about hub, through our cooperative contracts program last year, we had 32.7% hub utilization. So we're really proud of those numbers. Our hub team is fantastic, and we're really proud of the ability to get that diversity in the vendor pool that we have out there. Again, helping to grow Texas business. One note I would like to say is that San Antonio, in addition to partnering with us on some of those special strategic initiatives I talked about, is the city of San Antonio is one of our biggest customers, and they use our cooperative contracts program quite a bit. In fact, I think so far this year, just through May, it was more than $32 million. So there's, again, when you then look at that for the savings of the folks at San Antonio, knowing that they're getting good deals and deep discounts on that, that's also something to be proud of. Next slide. So our current contracting initiatives, if you're interested in finding out what we have on deck and what's going on with DIR, you can visit our website at www.dir.texas.gov and go to our current contracting initiatives page. And there you can see, as I talked about, everything, whether it's in planning phase, posting phase, evaluation, negotiation, and recent awards. And you can also find then, also to piggyback on what Larry was talking about earlier, if you don't see a current solicitation or an RFO out for a service that you have or goods that you are selling, then consider partnering with somebody else who's already under cooperative contract for now, and partner with a reseller until the next time that evaluation comes up, so that you can then start getting your foot in the door, and folks will be more comfortable and know who you are with some of the government partners, and you become more of a common household name, so to speak. And with that concludes my remarks, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mandy. Well done. Clearly a lot of things that you all are doing, a big giant budget, and looks like you all have a big fan base too, with that those states growing in popularity with wanting to utilize y'all's mechanism to get some of their things done. So that's fantastic. Congratulations to you.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into questions. We have several questions, and of course, this is going to be for the three of you. And remind the audience that we have the Q&A function. You know, the event is supposed to close at 4:15, so let's get right into it really quickly. All right, so here's a question for the three of you. For those organizations who have never engaged with DIR or GSA for that matter, what are the two things that you recommend today that they can do to begin to develop a relationship with each of you?
Well, I'm happy to jump in first. Is one, I think.
Please.
Sure. Go to our website. We have a lot of webinars that are available out there to engage with our vendor community. We're doing them virtually. If you see, we're even doing hub events virtually, and we're doing all sorts of things to start that conversation. Reach out to us through our Contact DIR page to start establishing that relationship, and maybe ask what's on the horizon. And I guess just, learn more about DIR, our customer base, and how our programs work and how our contracts work. We try to make it clear. We have videos on our page as well to try to explain the process. So I think that's a good foot in the door there. And then, of course, remember that with any cooperative contracts program, it's not as easy as getting on under co-op and then the sales just come in. You're going to always, of course, have to work to cultivate those sales and get out there and talk to our government customers and go out there. We provide the vehicle, but you guys need to work to build those relationships then with the folks who are going to be purchasing through the contracts program.
Hi, this
Excellent.
is Lisa, and I
Yeah.
will speak
Yes.
From GSA's perspective. I would say to go to those websites that were listed in the slide deck. I spoke about the GSA multiple award schedule link, also the Mass Information Technology link. Also, I would recommend visiting Fastlane, Startup Springboard, and then I think also, as Larry mentioned, just going to our e-library to look at the vendors that we currently have under schedule for those 2 SINs, the HACs and the CDM SIN, and then all of our SINs in general, and just seeing who's out there, who you may want to partner with, and just take a look at just all the available information out there on our website about our multiple award schedules. So, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Anissa.
You're welcome.
Larry, do you have anything to add?
No, Anissa covered it, and since she and I partner, that's an area that's much more closely in her swim lane.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you. So here's another question. For audience members who are students or transitioning into new careers, what do your departments look for in candidates, job candidates?
Hi, I'll go first. This is Anissa. I'm an 1102 contracting officer, and what we really look for, look at as far as new candidates, new to the federal government, especially in the 1102 career field. And I'll ask Larry if he could speak for his series as well. But what we look for is candidates that really have the degree in business. That's first and foremost, or 24 hours in business. But we also look for those individuals that are able to have that business acumen, that ability to work with the vendors, work with the customers, whether they're internal or external, and just try to seal the deal. Do what you can to learn the process and procedures that we have in the agency. Take the required 1102 training, and just network and get to know the people in the organization and what we do and how we do it, and just soak up all of that experience and all of that knowledge from the individuals that you'll be working alongside. But definitely the start is the degree and just having the knowledge and the know-how to seal the deal and get the job done. We do have vacancy announcements out there on usajobs.gov. We have offices all over the country, and we need people. So I'll just say that, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Anissa.
You're welcome.
I would like to jump in.
Yes, sir.
Not necessarily to get in front of Amanda, but I wanted to add to what Anissa said, especially for recent graduates. There is a program called Pathways, and that's actually a blanket term for a number of programs. So if you go to USA Jobs, as Anissa said, and search the term Pathways, there are a number of internship programs that allow recent graduates and also college students who are, I think, in their between junior and senior year, the chance to experience internships, to go through structured programs to learn about working in the federal government, and to actually work with an agency for 3 or 4 months and go rotate through different offices. So I think those are great opportunities. In the cyber field and in the IT field, we are obviously competing with industry, it's the great thing about some of the government cybersecurity opportunities, and San Antonio and the Air Force is one great example, is that You get to use some of the best tools, and as we used to say in the Navy, get to play with some of the best toys available anywhere when working for the government. So it's pretty exciting.
Excellent. Thank you, Larry. Mandy, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure. I guess I'll just jump in that part of our agency culture is can do. So I need can doers. If that's what I'm looking for. And we have our core values, our innovation, leadership, ethics, accountability, and delivery. And so if that's you and you're interested in truly a customer service role and serving Texas, actually we serve those who serve, I say at our agency, then we want you. And we would love to have you apply. Now more than ever, the need, whether it's in a cybersecurity role or a contracting or procurement role, we need people who can get the job done and who want to serve Texas. So jump on our website. Hiring is a little bit limited due to budget constraints, but we are hiring for those essential positions that we need to be able to keep fulfilling our mission. And so I encourage everyone to look us up and see what we have to offer.
Excellent. Thanks, Mandy. So one last question before we close. How can we better educate customers to use the HACS SINs?
Wow, that's my whole life's work, is better educating customers to use the HACS SINs. That's why we created those YouTube videos. We've got live people standing by in my office. Maybe not right now because it's 20 after 5 on a Thursday afternoon in Washington, but by sending emails to those addresses that I shared in the presentation, we will get back to you. We will answer you. We will work directly with customer agencies, helping them use the HACS SINs. And if you're a HACS SIN contract holder and you want you want your potential customer to use HACS, we will help with that. What we can't do is endorse any one company, but we're happy to have what we call a gov-to-gov call, where you're a contract holder, you're an industry partner of GSA, and you want your client to understand better how to use the HACS SIN. You can contact us because we manage the contract that you hold, and we can contact the agency without letting them know that we're not calling on behalf of any one company. We are in fact calling on behalf of the HACS program to help them understand how to use the HACS program and how to properly compete their opportunity using the HACS SIN. And that then allows, as Anissa said, every HACS SIN holder that has that subcategory is able to see that solicitation, even if they direct it to specific recipients. So yeah, we're here to help, and we believe in hands-on customer service with our customer agencies, helping them to better understand how to use it.
Excellent.
To add to
Yes, ma'am.
what Larry just said, and Larry's group, they're really great at this. They really are, and they do have warranted contracting officers and contract specialists that work alongside them, that if there's any questions that the customers may have, that's from a contractual perspective, Larry's group comes to us. They get us, involved right away, and we work side by side and work together to support the customer agencies. So I wanted to add that as well.
Thank you, Anissa. Well done. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and bring the program to a close. I again want to thank Mandy, Anissa, Larry, your expertise, your information, the websites. And by the way, we're recording all of this for all those that are listening. So, and it usually takes about 24 hours to get the download, but we'll put it on our website, sachamberrapidresponse.org, so people can go back and look at all the information, pick at it whenever they want to be able to use that as their leisure and to begin to grow their business and to really make a difference. But I want to thank the three of you for joining us. Again, your information is solid, it's strong, and it is really a key to opportunity for many businesses. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Bye, Richard.
All right, good seeing you.
Bye.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to, of course, thank our sponsors again, Booz Allen Hamilton. Mark, thank you. I'm looking forward to the information you're going to be releasing here this week. Look forward to reading it. Port San Antonio, Will, thank you again. It's great to see you, and all the things you're doing at the port are really awesome. And of course, I want to again thank our webinar sponsor, Tiff's Treats. The cookies are great, and so I'll ask you all to please take advantage of them. They're top notch, and they come delivered warm. Here at the Chamber, of course, we appreciate all the people that are on the webinar today. Again, the SA Chamber rapidresponse.org is the place to go to get information on this and a whole bunch of other things that we've been recording over the last several months since the beginning of the pandemic and our virtual change. I'll close by reminding you all that next week we will be hearing from our Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, the second most powerful person in state government. He's going to join us. He was originally going to join us on Wednesday, but something's come up, so he's actually going to be one day later, Thursday, July the 30th at noon. So we'll have an event just like this, and we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say in preparation for the upcoming legislative session. And with that, from all of us here at the San Antonio Chamber, again, we say thank you. Be safe, be kind, and please be healthy, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.